What's up, VC? Good morning. Good morning. Stavros, Spinning Greek, back from the den with back-to-back videos. I had Patio Vinyl Thursday last night. Had some friends over, had some drinks, had some laughs, and everyone had to take turns picking albums out of the collection. Rule was you have to pick an album, and we listened to at least one side, and we listened a lot of the albums. We listened to the whole thing. Kind of struggling. Gonna try to do this quickly. We're all friends here, right? You won't hold it again. Am I wearing the same shirt as yesterday? Yes, I am. That's embarrassing. But I assure you, after I did the videos yesterday, I showered, changed, haircut, and this morning I even shaved. I just picked the shirt that was on the floor. That's what happens when my wife leaves me alone. So here we go. I was up first, and I got a shipment yesterday. New record. Blitz and Trapper, live at Third Man Records. I talked about this in my other video, how they have it set up to where they can record it direct to acetate. So they'll have the performance in their venue, and then they'll press it directly to acetate. Blitz and Trapper, they call it country rock, southern rock, just rock and roll. They're kind of a jam band. I really dig them, and this live at TMR is pretty good. And after seeing Paul Baraka P-Dub's Tales of the Dead Wax, where he talked about weird things that are said in the Dead Wax, and he said Third Man Records always has something, and I didn't even know. And I have a ton of Third Man Records stuff, so I'm going to have to go back and look. Matrix Runout on this, Paul says, on side A, I'm into art thievery, and on side B, I know a guy who owns 6 Picassos. Apropos of nothing, but good stuff and cheap, like $14 new. So check that out if you like Blitz and Trapper. Next up, somebody picked this gem. I love this album. Garcia, self-titled. Is it self-titled? Does it have a title? It's Garcia on Round Records. Originally 74. This was reissued for Record Store Day 2015, I think. Sounds really good. I love this album. And it's this was an example of how music's time travel, the best time travel we have. Because as soon as we listen to this, for whatever reason, I went back to being fresh out of college, I think it was, and I was visiting friends in Greece, and we're sitting on an island drinking coffee and playing backgammon, and I went to pick up the USA yesterday because it takes so long to get there, and I see a picture of Jerry Garcia dead, and no one there understood why I was shocked. I think it was the first time a musician died where I was truly taken aback. And then my friend saw how sad I was, and we had a nice dinner at a buddy's house. We had some drinks, and they played Grateful Dead all night long because they had no idea what the Grateful Dead was. And they dug it, and I dug it, and it was great. Time travel and good record. Next up, The Arcs, Yours Dreamily. This was 2015 on Nonesuch. The Arcs, newest project for Dan Auerbach from the Black Keys. Instead of a duo, I think this is a fivesome. There's some Grateful Dead tinges to this. There's some jamminess. It's way less, just stripped down blues rock like the Black Keys are. This is pretty good. I enjoyed it. It's not my favorite record of 2015, and it's not one of my favorites in the collection, but I dig Dan Auerbach, and this is all right. Next record got picked simply because of the cover. This is Future Islands Undressed. Limited to 1,000. 2010 on Thrill Jockey Records. This is essentially an EP, but I love the artwork on this. Future Islands is synth pop, electro pop. I showed their album Singles a few videos ago, which was the most recent thing that catapulted them to acknowledgement, but this was out 5 years ago. And it's pretty nice for an EP. Pretty good. Not a lot of people here dug this because they're not into synth electro pop. So we're going to listen to one side. I'm going to listen to the other side today. So I guess a guy wanted to wash his palette of the synth pop and went with what he knew and played it as safe as possible. And you know what? We listened to the whole thing. Nirvana, Nevermind, you all know this album. There's not much for me to say. As soon as it was put on, time travel. Back to high school. Back to listening to this, riding my bike to school, and just going faster. Or as fast as I could at the time. So good. Next person, stuck with Dave Grohl from Nirvana and wanted to listen to this. This is the Foo Fighters' latest, Sonic Highways. They accompanied the release of this with 8-part or 10-part series on HBO. That was alright. I mean, how can you not like Dave Grohl? This is 2014 on Roswell Records. And I think they also released a bunch of different covers. I think 6 different covers with different portions of this picture. Or no, this is one city. 6 different covers with different city skylines, and then you put them all together and it forms the artwork of the that's on the CD. Yeah. Not the greatest album on earth, but there's some really nice rock and roll cuts on here. Next up, somebody picked David Bowie. This is the reissue. Sounds great. I'm losing my train of thought. Excuse me. A lot of people that were here listen to this and turn to me and go, "This is David Bowie?" I was like, "Yeah, this is David Bowie." And they had, a completely different picture because they're not heavily into music, but it was great seeing people's reactions to the guitar on this especially. There's not much to say about that album. It's excellent. Next up, I put on some Mike Lorenz and Friends. You may have... Mike Lorenz and Friends is a local Philadelphia band that does jazz night at a local brewery. And they did an album release at that brewery. And this is jazz. Usually they're just straight jazz. There's no electric guitar. But this, they bring in an electric guitar and do jazz renditions of Nirvana and Black Sabbath. A lot of people enjoyed this, listened to the whole thing. This is one of those records you can put on and it's really enjoyable. You don't have to pay attention, but at times it just, you're having a conversation, then all of a sudden it just grabs you and everyone is quiet and listening. And this was great. This came out of the blue. Sam Cooke, Ain't That Good News. This is a reissue. Everyone knows Sam Cooke. The man can sing. Some great songs on here. This was a Record Store Day release a couple of years back, I think. Yeah, there's not much to say. This Sam Cooke, legend. I wanted to speed things up a little bit, so I picked out Funkadelic, One Nation Under a Groove. Again, everyone knows this, but some people here didn't. Everyone in the VC knows this, but some people here didn't know earlier, later, whatever, Funkadelic. And we ended up listening to this whole thing, and the drinking sort of started picking up. I cheated and went twice and then played because someone wanted to hear some more funk but didn't know what to pick, and they were kind of squeamish. I picked this partly because I hadn't listened to it yet. This is the second or third album from Oregon, Cali Fever, on Ubiquity Records. This is a great band. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, a dozen people in this band. Great funk. And this is 2010 Ubiquity Records. So this is their second album. Really enjoyable. Really awesome. Great horn section. Nice funk sound. And then everything went off the rails. People just decided they were going to pick stuff they had no idea about. And somebody went in the soundtrack section and picked this, L'uomo dagli occhiali a specchio. If you know Italian, please don't hold that against me. Sandro Brugnolini. This is on Synedelic Records. I think I got it via distribution from Mondo, maybe. Old Italian movie soundtrack. Parts of it, have that ominous orchestral feel to it. Nobody really dug this, and you know what? I didn't really dig it either. I think I just bought it on a whim. We listened to one side, put it back. Somebody stayed in that section of the collection, however, and picked an absolute winner. Colpo Rovente by Piero Piccioni. This is a Light in the Attic reissue. God, I love Light in the Attic. So, Piero Piccioni, the father of lounge jazz, they called it, did a lot of work on Italian movie soundtracks. And this is the only one I have of his. And I remember when I listened to it, I loved it. Wanted to look into it, never did. And now I have to because this was great. Parts of it are lounge jazz, like slow jazz, etc. But there are times where big horns come in. And there are times where it sounds like there's some calypso, some tinges of bossa nova on this. But Colpo Rovente, Light in the Attic reissue, Piero Piccioni, I highly recommend this. This was great. And they actually did, again, black vinyl, my first choice. But if you're going to do it right. So they would decide to go with the cover, and they did a red and pink and white, or red and white splatter, starburst. I don't know. I can't even get this back in there. Here we go. Alright, so Colpo Rovente, Piero Piccioni. Get it. Next up, somebody decided they were just going to be funny and picked the soundtrack to The Raid. The Raid, if you haven't seen this movie, it's like a live-action video game where a cop goes to a building, essentially, and every floor is like a different level of an arcade game where he just kicks ass. Apropos of nothing, I don't know why I bought this. The movie made me laugh, so I picked this up. And the music on this, I don't know how to describe this. A lot of it is, it sounds like Nine Inch Nails. And this is the original soundtrack that ended up getting, I believe, cut. So it's the score, and then they changed it, took it away from the movie, and added something by one of the guys from Linkin Park and someone else, which I didn't really dig. But this is the original, and it's pretty decent. If you like Nine Inch Nails, check this out. And then Herd started thinning out. I mean, that's a lot of albums. And there's a few of us left, maybe 3 or 4. And someone said, do you have any jazz? Everyone's toning it down. And I was like, sure, go take a look. And they picked Archie Shepp's Attica Blues. I love this album. This is some reissue that, you know, there's been so many reissues. This, whatever reissue this is, it's not that great. Scorpio, of course. This is a Scorpio reissue in 2009. I wouldn't recommend it, but the album itself is great. If I could find a better pressing, and I am always on the hunt, at an affordable price, I'll get it. If I can get an OG, I will. Love that album. Then they went back into the soundtracks and found the Life Aquatic soundtrack. The studio sessions. Seu Jorge, legendary Brazilian artist. And on this, it's all David Bowie covers in Portuguese. And it's so laid back and smooth and awesome. I can't highly recommend this enough. 2014 on Hollywood Records. If you're a Bowie fan, and if you're a Seu Jorge fan, or either one, check this out. This might have been my favorite spin of the entire night, and we listened to the whole thing. Then, I can't remember how late it is. It was late. And I decided to wrap my own night up after everyone left with masterpieces. Duke Ellington, unbelievable. This album was great. This is the Analog Productions reissue. It sounds amazing. You know, people know this album. It's phenomenal. And sitting by yourself at night, chilling, good night with friends, finish up with this. It was perfect. And I don't know if you could hear the music in the background, but if you could, it's awesome. It's Focus Moving Waves that Paul X Junkie NL nailed it. Sent me yesterday. I loved all three records. Check out his channel, X Junkie NL. Peace from the den.